Downtown like South, got a bad bitch crawling out my body. Smooth out of seduction, how she likes to sit up on me. I know you want it, I know you want it bad. I know you want it.
I never know how to start these things out. Welcome everybody to the No Games, No Gains podcast. Robert unfortunately can't be with us here for this one because he's got to work over the weekend, but this is a really special bonus episode for you guys. We got friend of the podcast here, John.
Yeah, I'm filling in from the week, coming down from Wisconsin, so I'll be here for, about a week or so. Josh and I have known each other for 3 years. We used to work together at where Josh works now.
Yep.
So he doesn't do the YouTubes full time.
All the way from Wisconsin. That's a 16-hour drive for context. He drove all the way down here.
It's about 18.
Yep.
Yeah, so I was exhausted yesterday. We're hanging out having some truly black cherry lemonade.
And original. And whatever else comes up along the way.
Probably be a few different drinks tonight. It's pretty good, though. It's the first time I've ever had the truly lemonade. I'm a fan. More of a Vizzy man myself, so
you were worried that this would maybe sweetened or have extra calories because it's the lemonade variant, but I'd say this is every bit as good as the regular seltzer, and don't really get a penalty for it.
Well, that's what I was telling you earlier. I mean, I really thought that. So I had the Corona spritzers the other day, and freaking taste amazing. Can we curse on this podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing. I didn't know. I don't know what the demographic is. Amazing. Highly recommend if you don't care about calories or whatever. I mean, they taste like as good as a Mike's Hard Lemonade or whatever. But I thought they were also the 100 calorie, like, 1 carb of sugar or whatever crap.
Did they have sugars?
I don't know, but it was like
sweet?
190 calories, and it was the carbs were kind of high, and I'm like, yeah, man, like this is not what I thought I was getting.
I think a soda is usually like 250, 300.
Yeah, I don't know what a Coke is, far as calories go. But the reason I like seltzers at the end of the night, not so much for taste, just to let you guys know. So, being from Wisconsin, we drink a ton in that state. And so to kind of have a nightcap, I usually have a seltzer or two because having the alcohol with the carbonated water really helps cure the hangovers. Not saying you won't get them. It's definitely not a cure-all, but it helps. It usually doesn't lead to like vomiting the next day or like the super severe headaches because you're still getting the alcohol and you're getting the water that your body obviously needs because you usually don't stay hydrated enough. People forget to have the water when they drink.
Do you think it's easier on you because there's not a ton of sugar in it?
Yeah, the sugar content is definitely very low, and obviously that's what causes the hangovers is because it's the sugar mixed with the alcohol, and it spikes your headaches and stuff because you get this like massive sugar rush, and then it dehydrates you super fast, and that's what causes the hangovers. I mean,
that's a big part of it.
I'm not a scientist, but I'm assuming it's just the lack of like actual water that your body's consuming throughout the night. And then obviously alcohol is a poison, so I mean that's why alcohol poisoning is a thing. If you just consumed alcohol the entirety of your life, you would die.
Literally poisoning yourself for entertainment.
But it numbs the system, and the numbness feels pretty good. I'm not an alcoholic, I swear.
I like the wishy feelings it gives me.
As he takes a sip of the Truly.
Yeah. We don't really have any plans for this. Just kind of going off the cuff like we usually do on here. No bullet points or anything. So I guess the first thing we could talk about is your long travel. What really comes down to it? Is it just straight driving, stopping, getting gas? Is there any technique you use to keep yourself entertained along the way?
It's like talking Patrick and SpongeBob. Technique, Squidward, technique. No, so the technique is staying awake for. It took about 18 hours in total with stopping to get gas, and then obviously stopping the few times I did to eat. So maybe TMI for you guys, but I don't have a gallbladder or an appendix, so I have to be very careful what I eat on the road. Obviously, not to get too graphic here, but if I eat fast food, it can go right through me, so to speak. So I try to keep it very light, even kind of flavorless. I know that sounds really bland.
Hot tips.
Yeah, but something that isn't very adverse, if you will, to my system. So I had a I can't think of the name of the brand right now. Quest bar. I had a Quest bar for breakfast. Not the most flavorful thing in the world, but it'll do. Very filling. And then for lunch, I had beef jerky, literally like a strip of like Jack Links. It was like one of the not miniature packs, but whatever the regular size is. That was my lunch. Got up at 1 a.m. yesterday. Had a couple energy drinks. No coffee, obviously, because again, goes right through me. So I did that and just really just try to listen to whatever music you can whatever can pump you up, whatever music you're into, whatever genre that can kind of get you going. For me, it's more of a like metal type of alternative rock type of thing. Anything soft, even if that's what you kind of go for, like it kills you. And then like podcasts are big too. Something that's kind of high energy. Big sports person, so sports podcast I enjoy that really are engaging. That can make you think, because obviously that keeps you alert, keeps you kind of attentive to the road. Just because that's the key. Is just making sure that you're not running into the vehicle in front of you. Because there's a few times people cannot drive on the road, and when you drive from Wisconsin down to Georgia, it's about 1,200 miles, and you see a lot of idiots on the road. There was multiple times where there was people in the fast lane that were not going fast, and I'm trying to pass them on the inside, and as soon as I pull into the what would be the slow lane to pass them, they would get over without a blinker. Because I don't know if they either like, hey, this asshole's trying to pass me, so I've got to, I got to be a man and cut him off, or they just realize that, oh, I'm driving in the fast lane for who the fuck knows how long, and they just need to get over at that time. So, cut me off. I got to get on the brakes hard, and then obviously, the longer you've been awake, your reaction time slows. So it's really funny. I was watching. I remember this as a kid. I was watching Fear Factor with my dad. If anybody remembers that, the Joe Rogan show before Joe Rogan became big with the podcast. The Fear Factor, he mentioned like if you're awake for, I think this is a really extended period of time, 24, 48 hours, it has the same effect on you as drinking like multiple drinks in a night because your reaction time slows to shit. And there's something to it. Like, I mean, obviously I was only up for in total probably like 20 hours, which that's a lot, but that's not extreme, that's not people that like, whatever, but doing something that requires your attention, I mean, and if you drive to the grocery store, whatever your normal driving is to work, I know with COVID things are weird, but like, just think about the normal driving that you do in a week. It's not extreme. It's not intensive. You wouldn't even think it really requires a lot of focus, but you're driving on the interstate, and I'm not sure how many of your listeners are maybe like across the, different countries or whatever, but, especially like United States listeners, interstate travels, like, it's very different because you're going at a higher rate of speed. You're going anywhere between 70 to 80 miles an hour. I'm not sure what that would convert to kilometers, but you're going at this accelerated rate of speed, probably about 100 kilometers or so, I would think. I don't know. I don't know the math conversion.
In the ballpark.
In the ballpark of that. So, again, a very high rate of speed. So, obviously, you have a longer distance to stop. Even good vehicles, longer distance to stop. And so you've got to be alert. And then, obviously, you're awake for, the first 8 to 10 hours. It's like a work day, It's almost like a job. Like, you can be very alert for maybe even 8 hours, 10 hours, even maybe a 12-hour shift. But after that point, there's something in your body it's hard to stay focused on the same task for more than like maybe 12 hours at a time. And I love to drive. Driving is one of my favorite things to do with this entire world. But even for me, after 12 hours, like I'm dead. Like, I can't keep it up. So, you've got to really focus, and then you obviously trying to focus more. It wears you out more because you're putting so much of your energy into the focusing on what you're doing.
You didn't take any breaks. You just powered through it.
Yeah, the only breaks that I took was to use the restroom or just to get gas and use the restroom. That was it.
Because I know we took the trip up to Wisconsin, and I know we stopped at least maybe twice, at least once for your dad to like take a nap on the drive up there because he just couldn't do it.
But you guys left later in the day, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we were definitely getting there a good bit later.
And my dad, for reference, is in his 60s, and I'm in my late 20s. So obviously have more energy.
That's a factor.
It definitely factors in more. So it's easier to stay up later when you're younger, obviously, than when you're older. But either way, it's tough. It's a tough go at it to get up, and that's why I was initially going to leave around 2:30, and so. Coming south from Wisconsin, for people that don't know their geography, one of the biggest cities I have to come through is Chicago, which is as of right now, I think like the third biggest city in the country. And so if you don't hit it a good time, you're going to spend 2 or 3 hours of the trip just getting through Chicago, if not more.
Yeah.
So I'm stuck in traffic in Chicago if I leave later than when I left. Thankfully, I happened to get up around like 1 a.m., ended up getting on the road around 1:30, got through Chicago at a great time. A lot of lane closures, so my GPS freaked the fuck out. Ended up going through some of the not so nicer parts of Southside Chicago.
Really? Because I think we just took like the interstate like the whole time.
So the bypass around Chicago is 294, and the like through the city is 94. So I was going to take 294, the bypass, but I missed the exit because I was zoned out at that point because it was still early in the morning. I was still kind of groggy. Only been on the road for a couple hours, and so I don't know how I missed. I know my GPS was telling me to take 294, but like I missed it, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it didn't say take 294, but like I know to take that bypass because obviously I don't want to go through the heart of Chicago. Even at 3 a.m., Chicago can be a bitch. I mean, it can just be awful because, especially in March, there's a lot of road construction that goes on, and there was so many lane closures. The express highway that typically goes around the city still was closed down. So like, I mean, I'm going through like basically midtown Chicago, and thankfully again it was like 3-4 a.m. in the morning, so I'm hitting it at still probably the best time possible. But like, you know, still a lot of traffic on the road because I mean it's the third biggest city in the country. There's still, I don't know, millions of people in that area. So even at 3-4 a.m. there's still gonna be people on the road coming home from bars or maybe going into work early or just being out and about or whatever the hell they're doing at that time. But, I mean, going back to the original point as far as, like, tips, I don't know, just be excited about something. I mean, I was looking forward to coming and see my family, hanging out with Josh, and doing stuff like that. So that's what I kept, like, thinking of in the back of my mind. And there's no shame in stopping and, getting a motel if you absolutely have to, or even stopping maybe at a safe rest area in a nice, whatever, part of the highway. And
nice truck stop.
Whatever, getting in the back of the area and catching a cat nap for maybe an hour or two. There's a cat napping over there, out of frame. Because it just be safe. That's the key there. You don't want to kill yourself because I planned it and it worked out this way. Where most of my drive happened to be during the day. I crossed the border from South Carolina into Georgia as the sun was setting, and then from the border of Georgia to where my mom's house is, where I'm actually staying for the week, is only like maybe 15 miles. 15 miles is about 20 minutes, 25 minutes if you're better with the time as opposed to miles. So mainly most of the drive was during the day. That last little bit, I mean, I knew like back of my hand, so I could kind of be a little more relaxed with it. And the traffic's a lot less, obviously, because it's kind of more back roads. So I didn't have to be as focused, but still I have to pay attention because you never know.
So like if you had 3 tips you could nail down to give people for a long trip, what would they be?
3 tips are don't overeat. So don't stop and get super greasy fast food, things that are very carb heavy that'll make you sleepy. 2 is whatever your form of energy is. So if you're somebody who likes coffee and you can kind of hold on to it a little bit better than I can, get coffee, Monsters, whatever your energy drink is. Space that out, so don't pound caffeine early in the day, kind of space it out. So as soon as you start to feel maybe like you're crash hitting, get some more caffeine. Like I know, I don't know what the daily recommended amount of caffeine is in the day. I'm sure no one really pays attention to it, but there's a certain amount you're not supposed to hit. Don't be crazy about it. Don't give yourself a heart attack, but like in a situation like that where it's kind of more of an extreme circumstance where you're driving at a long length of time, give yourself the ability to drink more caffeine than maybe normal. And obviously, if you're someone that doesn't drink caffeine, that's even better because you're going to be kind of more wired. And then 3rd is definitely get plenty of rest the night before.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I fell asleep like 6:30 the day before, and I got up at like 1 a.m. So that's still a good 6.5 hours. And for me, I usually get somewhere between 6 to 7 hours a night. So 6.5 for me is perfect. I mean,
so
I felt
you started the trip off coming off of a lot of sleep.
Yeah, I mean 6.5 for some is not a lot, but for me that's good. I mean that's a very good amount for me because anything more than like
That's what I've heard.
Anything more than like 8 is way too much for me. Like I feel just super groggy and dead. Like eventually, kind of once I get going, I have a lot of energy, but it takes me a long time to get going in the morning. and I can't really afford it at that point because it's such a different time than I normally get up. My job usually requires me to get up right now around like 6:30, 7 a.m., which is early-ish, but like obviously 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning is insanely early unless you're working like some weird third shift job or something. Like no one really has to get up that early to go to work normally. So it's different for your body. It's kind of a shock to the system, and it's going to be kind of extreme. Like your body's going to probably go through a lot. I'm fighting kind of this, and maybe you can hear it in my voice a little bit, like this nasaliness for allergies, because up in Wisconsin, we have allergies, we have pollen, but spring hasn't happened yet because it's still winter. Spring probably won't happen until early May, so we probably got like another 2 months or so.
You're just like basically skipping time.
Pretty much. I hit the DeLorean, what was it, 90, 87?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never seen Back to the Future. Whatever the threshold is.
It's like the human bodies aren't really used to just switching atmosphere, like environments like that.
No, it's funny. So the week before I left, it started to get warmer. So my throat before I left was a tiny bit scratchy that night. And I woke up and my throat was a little sore, not anything crazy. But I didn't take any sort of medication, like no sort of allergy medication, or I didn't even do cough drops or even tea, whatever your remedy of choice might be. So I just kind of winged it, and I got to about Kentucky, which is I would consider the South. And I think Kentucky's probably a good barrier between the Midwest and the South from Indiana. And like halfway through Kentucky, the pollen just hit me, and my throat like swelled up. Like you could visibly see my tonsils like swell. Hurt to swallow. I got a couple phone calls from my family to make sure that I was awake and doing well. That I didn't fall asleep and kill somebody on the road. And it hurt to talk, so I couldn't talk for any length of time. And I'm somebody that likes to sing in the car. I mean, I wouldn't do that around people because I think it's a form of torture.
I think everybody is. They just might not admit it.
It's a form of torture for me to sing around somebody, so I try to, limit that as much as possible. But by myself, I definitely like to belt one out every once in a while. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't really sing or something. So, which sucked again. I think it's the best part of listening to music, though. Like you like to have a song that you can sing along to. And with me, like that's why I was trying to like listen to podcasts.
That's where the podcasts come in.
Sure. You can't really sing along to a podcast. I mean, if you've listened to a podcast a few times, it feels weird to re-listen to it. Yeah. I can't say I've ever re-listened to a podcast.
There's so much podcast out there to listen to. I don't know if I'd ever re-listen to a podcast unless it was one that just really did something crazy, like knocked it out of the park for me.
Yeah, I don't even know what genre it would be to like make it so re-listenable unless it was something maybe very like
a very specific topic, maybe an interview where something really interesting happened,
or very like stats heavy. So if you're doing like research or something, maybe, and it's you got somebody that's like an expert in the field, or it's very scientific or peer reviewed or something like that, and you're like really trying to dig into it for like evidence. For something that you're maybe trying to write on, I could see maybe re-listening to at least snippets of it multiple times because you're trying to obviously like dig context clues or maybe the way somebody's saying something out of it. But in general, I feel like podcasts are something you listen to once and then you're kind of done, which is it's kind of a beautiful media in that way, Like you don't feel like any one podcast is going to be listened to by the same person like a million times and critiqued to hell.
So when did you start getting into podcasts? Like when did you start recognizing that as like a form of entertainment for you?
Probably high school. So I'm 27. So high school for me is about 9 years ago when I graduated. So probably around 2010 or so, 2010, 2011.
Wow, that seems kind of early.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember what the first podcast I listened to. I remember one of the biggest ones I listened to initially, and I don't remember when this was Rhett and Link. Their Ear Biscuits podcast. Absolutely love it.
Yep.
Love it to death. So I've watched Rhett and Link since like early inception of YouTube. So like mid 2006s or
Rhett and Link. What is it? They sound familiar.
Good Mythical Morning.
Yeah, it's Good Mythical. Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but yeah, I had a feel like, oh yeah, that's the Good Mythical Morning guys. They do like the crazy food experiment stuff now.
So I mentioned earlier that I'm a big sports fan. The first video that I ever remember watching from them was a submission to Major League Baseball's All-Star Game. And they were doing like a Baby Ruth commercial. And you might still be able to find the video on it, but it's those two. They're singing a song, which initially, if anybody knows Rhett and Link's, they kind of got their start from doing like song. I won't say parodies, but kind of creating their own songs. And then, in that realm, so that's where I kind of got their start. But Good Mythical Morning, to me, there are definitely some episodes that I still watch, even to this day, almost more for nostalgia factor more than anything. But it can almost be kind of, I don't want to say cringy, but definitely overproduced in a way. You can tell like it's not natural reactions. It's like some of it's pre-scripted and stuff, which I get. It's a morning show, it's got to be pre-scripted to an extent. I mean, you can't just be completely off the cuff with everything. Like the timing and stuff has to be there. So I respect that. And there's definitely some episodes I still watch. I mean, I watch it probably at least once or twice a week, but
it's a different kind of art.
Yeah, it definitely is. To do it every single day, I mean, I have mad respect for them. Even if I don't watch it, I mean, I
every single day, that's nuts. I can't imagine producing content every single day.
And they just passed 17 million subs. It's not like they have to do it. Like I don't know what that equals to like revenue, but like they're making like thousands of dollars per video probably.
Oh yeah, I'm sure outside of their overhead, they've probably done very well over the years.
But what I was saying about Ear Biscuits is those two, and I like the personality of Rhett McLaughlin and Link Neal, who's Rhett and Link, outside of Good Mythical Morning, like who they actually are as people, and
that's where the podcast come in,
and you get that in Ear Biscuits, you get them as actual people. Not saying they may not have scripted things or whatever they might talk about, but like it's very candid. I mean, it is probably as real as if you were going to sit those two down and have like a conversation with them, like if you just knew them as a friend or whatever, maybe over a drink or two.
I feel like we live in a generation where everything is really personalized now. Like a lot of people find a lot of entertainment value in things that they can connect to or kind of feel like they can interact with in a way, like live streaming and stuff like that. I feel like it hooks people in a different way.
No, there's a lot to that. I mean, because it's an interactive portion to it, as you mentioned, because you want to be involved. I mean, because you know how awesome it is if there's a live streamer. Like I don't know, I'm not a Ninja fan, but I remember when he was like a little bit smaller than he is now. I was a sub to his brother, and I can't remember his brother's name now. And he did more like Pokemon streams. And we all jumped onto after his stream ended. His brother, I can't remember his name, and I'm sorry for that. Maybe somebody knows his brother out there. But we hopped onto one of Ninja streams after, and we all kind of like joined in. And I remember like giving it was like a $10 donation to one of Ninja streams, nothing major at the time, but like he gave me a shout out on the stream, and like there were thousands of people viewing that Twitch stream at the time, and it felt like really cool, like to get a shout out. Man, and Ninja's huge. Like whether you like him, dislike him, whatever. Like the opinion you have of him doesn't really matter because he's massive, I mean, it'd be probably no different than getting a shout out from like PewDiePie in a video or Mr. Beast or somebody like that. Like, regardless of how you view them, like it's still a big deal if you got a shout out, especially if you're a content creator, to get like, hey, go recognize this person because you get a shout out from them. I mean, that could be thousands of views on your next video, hundreds to thousands of subs potentially, depending on like what they're shouting you out for.
Yeah.
Especially if they endorse your content. And for me, it was just a small donation, but still, like it was still noticeable, and like that interaction is so cool. I mean, to be able to interact with personalities that they're celebrities now.
Yeah,
they're people that you watch, that you've grown up with, potentially that you like. There's no different than if you watch like a TV star if you grew up in like the 80s or 90s, and you're like, oh my god, like could you imagine if you're like a kid of the 90s or whatever, and you grew up watching Full House? And you were able to like donate to like a live taping of Full House, and like Bob Saget gave you a shout out, or John Stamos. Like how freaking awesome that would be. And I don't view it as any differently. Like I mean, I'm not saying idolize these people or put them above somebody else, but like to be able to be acknowledged by somebody that you like admire or view higher in a certain realm that you're trying to achieve, I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, circling back around to the podcast thing is that I think I started getting into listening to podcasts. I started this job that I have now 4 years ago-ish, and before that I was working at Target. So I would say maybe about...
Target!
I think about 5 years ago. Oh, it's going wild. I think about 5 years ago was when I really started to listen to podcasts because it was just an interesting form of entertainment. I think the first podcast I listened to, this YouTuber goes by Jim Sterling. He had like this gaming-oriented podcast, And there was just something about just listening to people having a regular conversation about things. There's just some form of entertainment value to that I just found so intriguing. And ever since then, I've always had a good time. Like if it's like an hour trip or an hour drive or something, just listening to a podcast over just listening to music, because I feel like I'm getting something out of it in a way.
No, and I agree with that completely. There's definitely some sort of like intellectual value to it, whether it be informative or somebody that you respect as a personality, and maybe seeing a different side of them. Because I feel like podcast, and maybe I'm wrong with this. Like
it's a big thing.
I'm not as I'm not a complete connoisseur of podcasts. I don't know every podcast is out there, obviously, and I don't claim to know it. But I feel like podcasts are much more open in general than like regular content creation or an entertainer or whatever. Like for example, like if we take like Joe Rogan's podcast, like I feel like if he brings a guest on, they're not necessarily that personality. They're more of the however the hell they are.
Elon Musk.
I was gonna say like the Elon Musk, like you really get a good, and like now I look at Elon Musk, it's like, dude, he'd be awesome to someone like to smoke with or like have a drink with, and like okay, yeah, he's the richest man in the world, but like just in general, like he's awesome. Someone like you'd want to just sit down and like talk to.
Yeah, because when it comes down to what you see on somebody's description of their bio, or you see somebody's actual work when it comes to content creation, you see like a very small portion of their life that's been edited and cut down to fit these certain barriers. But in a podcast, it's just an hour of the dude talking into a mic.
Yeah, it's much less refined because it's hard to fake a personality or whatever when you're having to answer questions that maybe you didn't prepare for, or things that are off the cuff, or just talking about your life or whatever. Maybe you're somebody that has everything so well pre-scripted that whatever question is thrown at you in that sort of setting, you just have an answer for.
Yeah, some people are professionals at that.
Yeah, and you just have a go-to, And I mean, if you are, like, honestly, that's almost more impressive in a way. But it's like, you can kind of tell, and it's like, again, I hate going back to the sports. I know this is not a sports podcast at all, but like if you ever, anybody out there might be a sports fan, if you watch like an interview with like a head coach or a star player or whatever, every answer they have is super pre-scripted. Like, how did the team do? Oh, the team did great today, and this player did great, and I have super respect for that guy. You'll never hear them say anything that's like controversial because they don't want to create a headline.
They got their sports brain turned on.
Basically, but there's something to that though, or like, they don't want to say anything that's going to cause a headline or say something out of the norm, because if they do, then that's all that SportsCenter or whatever's going to talk about forever.
Yeah.
And it's no different than any sort of celebrity or whatever. But if they're on Joe Rogan's podcast, for example, they're not going to say something so freaking radical to cause just a stir. Maybe they do. Maybe they want to say something radical to cause a stir. Maybe they're trying to sell an album or a book or get you to, whatever, to support some cause that they may have. And they may say something extreme to get you to come to their side. Or, I don't know, whatever it might be. But in typical, they're very just candid in who they are because, most people just want to be liked in life. I'm not saying you have to fake it to be liked, but you're just going to be who you are. And, I mean, I think generally as people, we would like to think our personality, as we are normally, whether we be awkward, whether we be, super sociable, or wherever we may fall in between, is a likable person or a good person. And so you try to portray that as much as you can in, an interview setting like this.
Absolutely. What are we at?
29:20.
We're at 29, so we'll grab a drink and we'll be right back, baby.
Woo! Whatever they're playing on.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm sitting here with the Japanese Miller Lite.
Yeah, what is that? Pronounce it, please.
Kirin Ichiban.
I'm sure that's exactly how
I probably butchered it. A premium beer, first press, 100% malt. Yeah, tastes like beer, I guess. So
there you go. It tastes like beer. That's the official endorsement.
Starting back off, we're gonna be doing some gambling on the podcast.
Oh yeah,
we got a couple of Monopoly $2 scratch offs here. This was your idea. Full disclosure, I don't buy scratch offs. I don't encourage people to go out and buy scratch offs unless we win a lot of money. Then I'm gonna be like, yeah, dude. But okay, we're gonna do this here. So you want to explain the instructions?
All right. So match any of your numbers to either of the Monopoly numbers. Win prize shown for that number, I get a Monopoly Man symbol. When double the prize shown, get a train symbol, and then win 5 times the prize shown. So it's set up in like a 2-column set for the Monopoly numbers. So you have 2 Monopoly numbers, and then your numbers are in a 2-row column. And there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 numbers in total for your numbers.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can go and.
So you just match the 2 Monopoly numbers to your numbers.
That's gonna be a terrible noise.
Welcome to the professional podcast.
I feel like you should scratch the Monopoly numbers first and see.
Yeah.
Still picking up the audio. I want to make sure I'm close enough for that.
Yeah, I imagine you just scratch everything off.
Basically.
And, yeah. It's like a, what was it, the Lucky 7?
And they're pretty fun. Assuming you don't put too much stock into them. We spent a grand total of $4 on these.
$4, yep. It's definitely not something you should do on a regular basis. If you're spending, $400 to $500 on scratch-offs, you're probably not making your money back on them.
All right, didn't win anything. There you go.
Okay.
So,
all right,
30 seconds of despair.
Yeah, I would show you guys the numbers, but I guess basically what it comes down to is they don't match. So, but
well, if I would have gotten the number 5, I would have gotten $1,000 a week for life, which would have been pretty nice.
For life, baby.
For life.
Off a $2 scratch off.
Did you get your Monopoly numbers first?
No, I didn't.
That's the first thing you need to scratch to see what you need to match.
Fuck, this doesn't scratch worth a damn. Oh yeah, I'm sure that sounds really good.
Some ASMR going on.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you guys the ASMR. So my numbers are 10 and 19. So I'm guessing I need to find those on the board here.
That's typically how it works, yes.
All right, 1 row down. Nope. 2 rows down. Nope.
You haven't even fully scratched. Oh, you did get the second row. We are 0 for 2.
Yeah, $4 down the drain. Living proof. Buy scratch offs once every 5 years, and you'll be all right.
It's a good lifetime investment if you're going for the $1,000 for life. If you get it, it's nice, right?
Yeah, if you get it, it's nice. But if you
plus after taxes, you owe the government like $40 a month. So it works out.
Gambling addiction. That's pretty much all we had for this segment so far.
I know one thing we wanted to touch on briefly was the Snapchat
streak
that you and I have. It's 1,035 days at this point.
You just checked?
I did. I checked before we started recording the second part.
I don't have any other friend near that. And just, I guess, because, at this point, it's just, I'm going to have the biggest streak.
And I don't know what the record is. So if anybody has made it to this point, and you want to comment that you've made it to this point in whatever area, this is on YouTube, right?
YouTube or your favorite podcast streaming platform. You can tweet it at me at Sometimesidrinktea.
There you go.
Or,
he's better at the plugs than I am. If you have made it this point, tweet us, snap us,
tweet us, Instagram us, comment us. Let us know what your snap streaks are, because I want to know if we're even close to anything at this point,
or the longest maybe you've ever had. Maybe if it's not current, you don't have to prove it. I mean, we'll take your word for it at this point. I mean, unless you say 5,000, you're bullshitting. But
I'm sure somebody out there has been streaking since day one, if that was even implemented at that point.
When Snapchat found it, so keep rambling.
It's been longer than you think, because I would look back on old snaps and I would be like, I didn't even know I was using Snapchat that long ago.
September 2011, so a decade after 2011 happened. So it's almost been a decade since it was founded.
I don't think I was using it in 2011, but
the first I had ever heard of it was the summer of 2014, because I was away at college.
I was out of high school. Old man
for that summer. So it had been in use for almost a full 3 years before I'd even heard of it.
Yeah.
And you and I started our streak in 2018, because it was right after I moved to Wisconsin.
Yeah, it was kind of a running joke, hey, let's see if we can get this to a year. And now we're over 2 years now.
Almost 3.
Yeah. That's nuts.
Because it'll be 3 years. I did the math the other day. It'll be 3 years like in May.
Yeah.
Sometime in like early to mid-May, it'll be 3 years.
It's kind of crazy. It's like the idea of like opening up and using an app at least once every single day for 3 years straight. That's crazy.
I mean, because like, and just to give you an idea, the pictures or the snaps that we send each other are not anything insane. Like, it's literally might be. You know,
they're nudes.
Yeah, there you go.
They're dick pics. Nothing insane though.
We've got to get something the camera will pick up. It'll be like, you know, a picture of your forehead, like a random picture of a wall or a blurry image or whatever. But just still, to do that for 35 days in a row, I feel like there's something to that. And I feel like anybody that's reached that at least the 1,000 threshold, that's impressive.
That's a lot of damn pictures. That's more pictures than Grandpa could take with his Kodak.
I mean, because that's at least...
I am getting drunk.
That's at least 2,070 pictures. At least. I mean, that's at least what you'd have to have. Because, I mean, that's at least... I mean, I know you and I have done way, way more than that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's 1,035 for me, 1,035 for you. That'd be two...
That's just counting what's in a row.
Yeah, so... How's the Japanese beer?
It's, It really tastes like a Miller Lite to me. You can try it if you want.
First press. What's the?
I don't think there's a percentage or anything from what I can see. I just opened it and started drinking.
If you have to ask, you cannot handle.
Beer's a weird thing for me. Do you ever get?
That's not great.
Yeah.
The one that I had earlier tonight, the other Japanese beer, that was much better. Yeah, the acai berry.
However the hell you say it.
It was much better.
Yeah, I got that. And then the first one you had today was Sapporo or Sapporo. I think that's how it's pronounced.
Again, they're kind of the same. They're all like this lager family, which I'm not a big lager drinker. I'm much more of either like a hazy IPA type of person, or even like a stout porter, depending on if it's colder outside. I love something that's more of a darker, heavier. Almost even like a bready type beer, think of something like a Guinness. Guinness is very light for alcohol content, but it's very heavy. Like something like that because it fills you up, gives you kind of a warm, fuzzy feeling inside.
And Guinness feels like it's something substantial.
Yeah, it's like a meal. It's like liquid bread.
Yeah, Robert's not a big fan of beers, but he likes a Guinness. That's like his go-to. He'll drink a nice Guinness. Yeah,
not many people pour a proper Guinness because you have to pour 3/4 of it, then let the head sit for like a good minute or so, and then kind of top it off.
Do you ever get chest pains from beer?
Now you mentioned this. This is an interesting thing. So you go ahead with that.
Sometimes I'll enjoy beers, and sometimes I just start getting random chest pains, and it's really hard to drink. Like, I know there's one time I was trying to drink a beer. I don't know what it was, but it was just... I was getting unbearable pain from drinking it, and I just couldn't finish it. And it's like some craft beers will be completely fine, and sometimes I'll drink them, and it'll be a miserable experience. And I don't really understand why, and it's only with beer. I can drink any other type of alcohol or liquor, and it's perfectly fine. I can drink sodas, I can drink energy drinks, but it's something about beers that just it hurts sometimes.
It's got to be the carbonation, right?
Yeah, I've tried, but that's the thing. Like, I can drink any other.
That's what causes. I don't know if you guys can put this on the camera or not, but that's what causes the head of the beers, the carbonation. So I would figure it has to be something with the carbonation.
I would imagine.
Because it's probably like indigestion. I would
because
think.
Sometimes it's almost like like how sometimes you got to burp and you can't.
Yeah, it's exactly.
It kind of builds up. Like, it's kind of like that, but worse.
Which is kind of it's funny because I remember you had that problem with Dragon's Milk, which for those who are not aware, Dragon's Milk is like a stout of a beer. Again, this is not a beer podcast at all. Although that would be fun at some point.
It's a beer podcast now, baby. Welcome to the beer cast.
Much darker, much heavier beer. Very strong. Not super bitter, but very high in alcohol content. I think Dragon's Milk is 11%.
Yeah, Dragon Milk is pretty high, and it's also pretty high in its price tag. It's like $16 or $17 for a 4-pack.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Very good beer though, if you are a fan of that kind of beer. But that's the one that gave you issues. But and the reason why I think it might not be carbonation is because if you ever pour any stout, but especially like Dragon's Milk, like there's like no head on it at all. Like, the carbonation is very minimum. The only beer that's like in the stout variety that has a lot of head is like a nitro stout.
Yeah,
because it's obviously it's brewed with like, or it's poured with like nitro in it, so like the head kind of like builds up towards the top. I
wish I could nail it down, because I swear it's like sometimes I could drink a Guinness and I could enjoy it and it could be fun, and sometimes I could drink it and I couldn't get through it.
Which is why I'm surprised you switched to beer after going to a seltzer.
Yeah, like with this beer, I'm starting to kind of feel it. And I kind of got to watch myself, because if I try to power through it, it just doesn't work out for me.
So what did you think of the Hop Slam? Did you like it? So, for reference, we got a beer that I thought was only available in the Midwest. It's called Hop Slam, brewed by a brewery in Michigan. Bell's is the name of the brewery. It is a West Coast style IPA, double IPA, which means it's just double hopped, bitter. But it's brewed and infused with honey, so it kind of takes some of the bitterness off of it, which I'm a fan of, because I'm not a fan of a super bitter beer. And I wanted Josh to try it. And what are your thoughts on it?
My personal opinion, I think it's, like you were saying, it's very similar to a Voodoo Ranger. And I think that's probably one of my favorite types of beers. Like, if I'm in a store, like even if I'm in a grocery store or something, I can identify that, and I just like the taste of it, and it's a pretty high alcohol content, and I feel like you get a lot out of it for the price. And yeah, I think it's pretty similar to that, but you said it's like $20 for a 6-pack. It's definitely pricier.
It's more expensive up here, and I think maybe because they had to ship it.
Really?
Because the liquor store we went to, what was the name of it?
Liquorama.
Yeah, it's an awesome name, like Liquorland or something.
Liquorland, I think it's Liquorland.
It's a great name.
I'm sure everybody's got one of those.
If you go to even a grocery store in Wisconsin, you can probably get like a 6-pack of Hop Slam for, it's still like $15, $16.
Really? Okay, so it's like a craft beer 6-pack.
Yeah, it's not, but it's like $19-20 here. So it's, and plus like alcohol's taxed here, and it's not in Wisconsin, so that's the difference as well.
I didn't know that.
So it's like a good, like after taxes, it's a good like $20 you're spending on a 6-pack here, and it's like 15 to 16 in Wisconsin. It's like a $4 difference.
Okay, it has to be some kind of import thing then.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's not insane, but, you know, it's higher.
Yeah, I mean, like, 2 6-packs of these Japanese beers I got was like $25, $26. And, I mean, I would say it's every bit as, like, a Bud Light, like a Miller Lite type of deal.
And how much you said it was?
Like $25.
Oh, for 2?
Yeah. Which ain't horrible, but puts it into perspective.
But, yeah, then you can go and buy, like, a 24 for, like, what? I have no idea what a 24 of, like, Bud Light is.
Money.
Like $20? I don't know. I haven't bought a 24-pack since like college.
You just kick back and drink a 24-pack of Bud Light.
I have no idea what it costs. But I'm assuming it's probably cheaper than that.
Bud Light's the only beer my dad drinks. My dad is not a drinker. He doesn't drink beer. He tried my craft beer when we went to that brewery in South Carolina. Don't remember the name of it. But he was like...
Southern Barrel?
Yeah, probably Southern Barrel. And he was just like, ugh. But, like, he only drinks Bud Light. And I guess, as you can imagine, it's like kind of drinking water. It's a very inoffensive, easy to drink, I'm drinking beer type of beer.
It's too sugary for me. After kind of being on a craft beer kick for a couple of years,
yeah.
like it's hard to drink. Like, I mean, it is. It's almost like an offensive taste now. Like, it's hard to drink like a Bud Light. I used to joke all the time.
Really? Because I thought it would be like nothing.
I used to joke all the time that Miller Lite was like cat piss. And Miller Lite's still not good. I don't know if any craft beer is great not craft beer. I'm sorry. Any light beer is great, to be honest with you. But there's definitely some that are at least drinkable compared to others.
I feel like people that swear by light beers hate craft beers with a passion. Why do you think that is?
It's just what they're used to. It's what they were raised on and grew up on. It's like it's more like, oh, this is what I know, or it's like it's not foreign or something.
Craft beer's a pretty new thing, isn't it?
Yeah, probably within the last 20 years.
Everybody considers craft beer like the hipster thing.
But it's such a craft beer is such a wide-ranging term, because craft used to be like this exclusive, like one-off brewed by like a local source brewery, like, you know, maybe only get like maybe once a year or something. But now craft craft can go anywhere from your mom and pop brewery down the road that maybe, produces like whatever. I'm not sure what the average.
Like same deal. Like same small batch, whatever.
Yeah, just something like Goose Island's considered like craft beer. And Goose Island's owned by Anheuser-Busch, and it's one of the biggest breweries in the country. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not really craft beer. I mean, they're Bourbon County. It's near and dear to my heart. One of the best beers brewed every year. But outside of that, like it's not. I wouldn't really consider it craft beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a wide-ranging term, but yeah, I think that's why, because it has like this snobby connotation to it. Mm-hmm. And so it's like
it's like the hipster thing. I think a lot of people consider it as, like some people.
Yeah, no, it definitely has that.
It's the millennial beer.
It just has flavor, man. It tastes good. Like
I think it's got a lot going on with it.
Like I was telling you, like the only domestic beer that I think has any sort of flavor at all is like Yingling.
Yeah.
Which I think is the oldest brewery in the country, if I'm not mistaken, out of PA.
Yeah. Yingling,
Pennsylvania, for anybody that might not know what PA means.
Pissant.
And it's a lager style, around I think 4.5% or something. I looked it up earlier tonight. Like 16 IBUs. Very light, not very bitter, but it's a solid beer. It's very drinkable, something you can crushable, if you want to use that term, something you can kind of just pound down. But it actually does have taste. It has flavor. It's something that it's respectable, as opposed to I don't know, even Miller High Life or Budweiser or Coors. It doesn't have the same sort of flavor to it because it's so but it's also so mass produced that it's hard to.
It's hard to explain to somebody who doesn't, I guess, drink beer. Yeah,
and I'm not a beer connoisseur by any means.
I'm not either. But you can tell there's just, for me, it's you can tell there's something more to it.
Yeah, I'm not like a beer sommelier. You can't blindfold me and give me 5 beers and I can't tell you which beer is which from which brewery. I'm not to that level. But I mean, I have an idea or a feel for what's quality versus what's just mass produced.
Yeah,
and there is something being brewed in a smaller quantity because there's more time that's gone into it, more prep work or hard labor or whatever. You can taste the quality of it as opposed to something that's just super mass produced. And granted, it's more expensive, but also craft beer is like a hobby for me. It's not something I don't go home every day and crush 3 craft beers. I can't. They're too rich usually. I can't.
Yeah. I
can't drink 2 or 3 stouts in a row. It's way too damn much.
Yeah.
I drink maybe 1 or 2 a week.
Yeah, it's funny. We were leaving the brewery, and I was kind of thinking of picking up a 6-pack, and I was like, the 6-pack's $10, which I thought was a pretty good deal for a 6-pack of craft beer. And Dad was like, that sounds like a lot. But then again, he doesn't drink craft beer.
It is compared to if you drink light beer.
Yeah.
But if you look at it as something like I do, so for example, if I go to a brewery and I pick out excuse me, some states have this, some states don't. It's called pick your own 6-pack. So you go in, you go to maybe a refrigerated section. Some even are still the cans on the shelf.
Yeah, we got one of those.
You can pick out 6 different varieties of craft beer, put them in a 6-pack, and you tend to get a little bit of a discount for putting them in there. It still ranges anywhere from $20 to $35, depending on what you get, which is a lot of money. But I drink maybe 1 or 2 craft beers a week. So even if I drink 2 a week, that's 2 times 6. That's 3 weeks worth of beer for me that I consume. I mean, $30 for 3 weeks worth of beer. That's that's only $10 a week. That's even cheaper than somebody that goes buys a 24-pack and crushes it for the entire weekend.
You must be drinking some bougie shit, because I know we had the pick your 6, a pick a 6-packs thing at the Kroger down on the island, and that's $10 flat, regardless of what you get. And there's some craft beers in it. There's the Not Your Father's Root Beer in it. There's your generic Yingling, whatever. Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Yeah, I'm talking about the local liquor store that we have where I'm from. It runs, it's usually in the low 30s, 30.
It's like a local liquor store type of deal?
Yeah. And yeah, generally what I drink is a higher alcohol by volume. Okay. And not that I necessarily need that or look for that, but it's what my taste buds enjoy. I really when I crack open a good craft beer from whatever brewery, whatever type of style it is, it's something that I look for in the quality, and I sip it.
I feel like you're not getting that higher alcohol volume in a beer without it being a higher quality.
No, because there's a brewing process that has to go into it. There is, and I'm not sure exactly what creates the higher alcohol content. But there is a certain process that goes into it that does create it. And you can taste it, and I enjoy it. It's no different to me if I crack open, a can or a bottle of whatever craft beer that I have that night than if somebody goes and pours like 2 fingers worth of bourbon for the evening and they sip on it for an hour or so. Like, it's the same experience for me. Like, I'm enjoying it in that same manner. It's not meant to be guzzled. It's not meant to be rushed through. It's meant to be enjoyed. And then, after that, maybe if it's a lighter beer, I might switch to maybe another craft beer, maybe have 2 in the night. But generally speaking, I'll go to something like a seltzer or something like vodka water, something that's more light if I still want to have a drink later in the night because, I can't consume that many beers that are heavier in content in a row.
Mm-hmm. I want to know the brewing process behind a Four Loko. I don't think you get any higher quality than that bad boy.
Alcohol, sugar, and cocaine. That's just Four Loko.
That's 12% alcohol, baby. That's that fine quality.
Is it 12 or 14? It's 14, isn't it?
From what I can remember, I think on average it's 12%, and I think they got a couple of different flavors that's 14, like the green apple's 14.
Yeah, it's whatever it is, it's not good.
How the hell do you get 14%? It's a lot of sugar, though, for sure. And I think that's like the highest amount of alcohol content I feel like you could get out of a gas station in some seedy part of town, like late at night. Like when you can't get your hands on any bourbon, you can't get your hands on any like hard liquor, like that's your second best option as far as alcohol content.
No, it really is because it's as strong as some wines. I mean, you got something that's like a Four Loko that's 14%. I mean, your typical white wines will run you anywhere from like 12 to 15.
Yeah.
So I mean, that sits right there in that range of like what a white wine would be. Obviously, it's not quite as fancy.
Yeah.
Having a good Chardonnay versus a Four Loko. I mean, you're not.
I mean, really, what are you gonna pick here?
I mean, you're not going to a Four Loko sampling.
That camouflage can, baby.
That would be pretty great, though.
Four Loko sampling.
We should start that.
Four Loko made seltzer.
Yeah, I've had it before.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
Pure alcohol.
Yeah.
Like you can just. It's like drinking ethanol. Like you can. You can taste the whatever in it. It's like, God, this is not enjoyable at all.
Yeah. It's funny. I had one of their seltzers. It wasn't the flavor I wanted, but I drank it, and I was like, holy shit, this still tastes like a regular Four Loko.
We gotta back that up a bit. They have a flavor you want?
Like one that, it was like black cherry or something. Like something I wouldn't have been interested in regardless of what it was. But I was like, okay, Four Loko seltzer, this is high alcohol content for like something off of the shelf at the gas station. So I was like, okay, I'll give this a shot. And I was like, oh my God, it still just tastes like a Four Loko, because I was expecting like a lot less of the Four Loko taste, but no, it's all still there in the seltzer.
I feel like that's an entire rant for a different episode. It's like the seltzers that try to be more like the Bud Light 8% or whatever, the Bud Light seltzer that's like 8%, like they taste terrible.
Have you ever heard of Strong Zero?
I have not.
Yeah. Strong Zero it's a Japanese thing, right? But from what I can gather, it's a hard seltzer basically. Mm-hmm. Just to simplify it. And it's like, I think it's like 9% alcohol. And from every single person that I've watched that's had it, they claim that it's like, oh yeah, you think you're just drinking this and it's whatever, but apparently it knocks them off their ass. Like it's something stronger than it is. So that is something that really interested me, but it's like extremely expensive to import. Like it's like, I think it'd be like $8 or $9 for a can.
So it's 9%. What's the calories on it?
I'm pretty sure it's I think it might be 0 to 100, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't be 0 on one thing. I don't think it has like 0 calorie alcohol. The day they invent 0 calorie alcohol is going to be a terrible, great day.
Yeah.
All wrapped in one.
It's definitely low calorie. Like it's It's definitely in that vein of hard seltzer. I can't speak on it exactly. I think there's like a term for it, for what it is. It's supposed to be like a canned cocktail type of deal.
Yeah.
Like it's supposed to be
like a limerita or something.
Like it's supposed to be comparable to like a vodka seltzer type of thing, but it's I'm pretty sure it's just a malt beverage. But I think it's supposed to be it's supposed to be like their hard seltzer. But I hear a lot of good things about it as far as like, the alcohol content for the money, but it's just incredibly expensive to import.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's something I can give a shot at some point.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're doing shots of seltzer, that probably is not a good idea.
Yeah, dude, I was browsing eBay. I was just trying to find like a decent deal on it, and it's impossible. It's so fucking expensive.
Yeah. I mean, whatever, whatever floats your boat there at that point. I mean,
I feel like it'd be right up your alley.
Yeah, but I'm not a big super hard seltzer fan.
Yeah.
Like again, like I said, the purpose seltzer holds in my life, like hard seltzer holds in my life, is to be something that's like a bridge between what I've been drinking and the end of the night. It's something that's a very easy transition from my body drinking hard alcohol, whether it be like a mixed drink, strong craft beer, whatever, shots, which is very rare for me, to going to bed.
Yeah.
With the transition between that state of where, some people will just go and do 4 or 5 shots in a row, then go to sleep like that. I would be dead the next day.
Yeah.
I need something that'll kind of bridge that gap between going out and drinking super heavy to laying down.
Yeah.
Because it does. It makes it easier the next day where, like, you're not as hungover. You don't have as bad of a headache. You're not as, like, nauseous. Like, not saying these things don't apply still, but, like, they're not as, severe where you feel like
yeah, definitely not as pertinent, whatever the word is. Yep, that's where the strong zero thing interests me, because sometimes I just want that one harder drink, but that's kind of like a seltzer, but it really doesn't exist, because you have these, they're 5%. And then you have something like the Four Loko, which is obviously just ridiculous. And I don't feel like there's anything just a little bit harder. Like you were talking about the Bud Light thing. I think I've had that. But I remember it tasting like dog shit as well. It's not very good.
Yeah, I tried the blood orange, I think.
Probably had that one.
Whatever that flavor was, and it's not good.
Yeah.
It just and I had a few other ones too. Like
It's funny seeing. I feel like it's kind of the future of these type of drinks. Like Mike's trying to jump in on the hard lemonade seltzer type of thing, and I haven't tried it, so I can't speak on it. But I'm like, I don't know, man. Truly's really good. For like a lemonade seltzer, like I'm a pretty big fan of that.
Yeah, I mean, to be 5%, 100 calories still, and then to have this level of flavor is pretty.
It's a lot of flavor for not considering it doesn't have any sugar.
Yeah, I mean, compared to if you're gonna compare this to like a White Claw, like black cherry or whatever flavor of White Claw you go to, it's 2x, 3x the flavor of it.
Yeah.
And still less than 1 sugar. Sodium's low, carbs are low. Like it has nothing in it, and then it's 100 calories. So like it's as good as you're going to do for that.
Do you feel like we've seen a surge in these type of drinks, like the 0-calorie energy drinks and the 0 calories? Well, not the 0 calorie, but the hard seltzers.
Yeah,
I feel like that's all became like a lot more popular recently.
There is there definitely is, because there's so many people that are health conscious, and I like to think that I am to an extent as well. Like I'm not going to go out. I mean, I won't go out and just grab like a Coca-Cola, because like the calories, the sugar or whatever. Normally, I would do like a Coke Zero, or I would do like maybe even Mountain Dew Zero, whatever it's called, like the diet version of whatever soda, Dr. Pepper Zero, whatever. Because I don't want the calories of the regular thing. And it's the same with alcohol. Like, why go and, get a Jack and Coke when you can get a Jack and Diet?
Yeah.
I mean, because honestly, you have one or two, it tastes the same. Because eventually it all kind of, your taste buds kind of get numbed out. Like, and you're saving yourself a couple hundred calories a drink, because instead of just doing like a straight Coke mixture, you're doing like a diet mixture. It's the same with this. I mean, this is basically like the same as doing like any sort of like seltzer that you would normally have.
Yeah, I think you still have people like Shelby that are really sensitive to the diet flavoring type of deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like an acquired taste. Like, it doesn't bother me, but I think what you were saying about the numbing of the taste buds after you've been drinking type of thing is kind of like it's an important point, because it's definitely something you notice more in the first go round if you're not used to it.
No, but with alcohol in general, alcohol is not one of those things you go in it just for taste.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, again, like I mentioned with craft beer, like obviously I enjoy the taste of craft beer, but because it does have that alcohol effect to it, like I don't think I could ever just drink 0-calorie alcohol, because like there's still something to it. Because I mean, if alcohol didn't give you the effects that it does, the numbing, the good feelings, the whatever that you get with it, I mean, what's the point of ever drinking? You know, like I would never drink at that point if there was no benefit in that realm of it. There would be no reason to drink it, because you get all the.
You wouldn't drink alcohol with no alcohol.
Yeah, there would be no reason to ever suffer something like a hangover or whatever if you never got drunk or got a buzz or whatever you might experience the day before.
So what's the deal with non-alcoholic beer?
I think it's to wean people off of alcohol. Potentially. I mean, I don't know. I think it's to either someone who's maybe drinking way too much and they want to, like, they just crave the taste of a beer or liquor or whatever that it might be that they just crave. And they want the same sort of taste experience without having the actual alcohol to get drunk. So they can kind of satisfy that need to get the taste. Or somebody that maybe just completely cut off cold turkey. And they're like, I'm not drinking ever again, but I still, like, you know, I'm an alcoholic, so I still want to get that fix, quote unquote. So I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine anybody that has a good relationship or a normal relationship with alcohol that would go to a restaurant instead of getting a regular beer. They'd be like, I just want the NA.
Yeah.
At that point, just get water or like a diet soda.
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know, or just the alcohol. I mean, because I don't get, unless that particular drink pairs so well with whatever you're getting.
Yeah.
That it's just worth it. But even, I mean, have you ever had an NA beer?
No.
They taste, they have that like diety taste to them, because there's something that's like quite like a little bit off about them. Yeah, they don't taste quite.
That doesn't sound great for a beer.
I mean, it's not super noticeable, but if you drink as much beer or alcohol as, like, you know, I consume.
It's like anybody that would be buying this in the first place would notice.
Yeah, it's noticeable.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what the purpose of it is, except for somebody who is like a recovering alcoholic. And I see that niche, you know, someone like would get like and get no duels instead of like maybe a Bud Light, because like they've, you know, if they have a Bud Light, they might 12-pound like 15 of them in a night. So they get no duels, and, you know, they get kind of the taste of beer, but they don't get the alcohol, and they don't get the buzz, and they don't get the whatever that, you know. So I get that. I get that aspect of it, and I think that it's good to fit that purpose. But outside of that, I don't know. It's hard for me to fathom somebody just wanting to have an NA beer to have an NA beer.
Yeah. Alcoholic beer is pretty cool. Kids drink.
Only if you're over 21 in the U.S. or 18, I think, in some European countries.
In some European countries.
Potentially. Check with your local guidelines.
Yeah, or in the U.S. if you're doing it illegally. Which I definitely didn't, and nobody else did, because everybody follows the law.
No one I know has ever done it.
Nope.
Wink, wink, hint, hint.
I don't know, man. You want to wrap it up here?
We can go on rapper.
Well, yep. Everybody, that has been John, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this segment of the podcast as much as we did shooting it. Hope you enjoyed being on.
It's been a good time.
Yeah, it's just fun to talk into a mic sometimes.
It's nice.
Yeah,
especially when we've had a few. You know, it's good to kind of get the thoughts out.
Yeah, that's a fun conversation. And if you want to hear me ramble on with Robert, who may be joining us for another episode pretty soon. You can check out some of the other episodes and follow us on whatever you listen to podcasts on. And with that, I think we'll call it quits here. Is there anything you'd like to add as we're closing our segment here?
I think I'm good. You know, enjoy good beer, and enjoy good alcohol. drive safe. Don't drive drunk. But that's pretty much it.
Well, be sure to let us know what you think in the comments and whatnot, and hopefully I'll see you around on the next one. See you guys.
Bye.
Downtown Lex out, got a bad bitch crawling out my body. Smooth water seduction, how she lets it sit up on me. I know you want it, I know you want it bad.